Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good day, whatever it is where you are. Hello. I'm Heather Clark, your host of Declutter for Change Live, and today we are talking about unwind and de-stress, embracing the power of separate spaces in your home. So last week we talked about decluttering with the family as a family unit, getting everybody on board and stuff like that. And I know one of the things I did mention is giving the children and adults their own separate spaces and stuff. And I didn't go too far into it because I knew it had to be its own episode because it is a very important one. And there's reasons behind a lot of why having your separate, even if the children, even if you and your spouse or partner or whatever have, share the same room or whatever, it's still important to have your own separate space. It doesn't have to be an entire house, doesn't have to be an entire room, but giving everybody their own separate space is important because of the fact that it's a sense of, independence. It's a sense of pride for whether it's a child, whether it's a teen, whether it's the adult. And it's a sense of being able to just go to that space to de-stress and unwind and not worry about, oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do that, whatever. It's just a space that they can go to, that they have of their own, that, and for me, it's, it is my bedroom because, my bedroom, I don't share with anybody. And my kids have their bedrooms that they go to and they don't share with anybody. And it's a matter of, yes, do I expect the children to keep their rooms relatively clean? Absolutely. When they were kids, even they had their own rooms and they had their own space in there and they got to make it their own. And the reason why that's important is because children don't have their own identity or don't understand because they're little sponges. They're learning who they are as human beings, let alone, they've got multiple personalities in the home teaching them different lessons of different things. So they're trying to figure out, like, okay, who am I? Whatever. And of course, they're kids. They're especially little ones. They're literally sponges. Up to 7 years old, they're an absolute sponge. They're just going to absorb everything. At 7 years old, they start to go, okay, well, what do I actually like? What do I want to do? Like, do I want to have this in my room? Do I want? And it gives them, giving them that personal space, or that, like, even like I said, if they share a room with their other sibling, that's okay too. Give each sibling their own little space, their own little corner, their own little, shelving unit that is just theirs, because it's something that they get to take care of, that they get to have and say, nobody else gets to touch this except for me. Nobody else gets to throw something out of here. Like, and I get it. As an adult, seeing kids collecting things that you're like, why? Why do we have this here? But it's not for you to understand in the sense of, oh, well, it's just junk, so let's get rid of it. No, it's to that child, it meant something. So let them have that space to have that item, because guess what? In a month or two, they might change and go, oh, why do I have this? Okay, I don't need it anymore. Like, I've seen, and of course my kids are so opposite with each other when it comes to certain things. And I've seen many a times where one child will keep something and will have it for the longest time. And then all of a sudden one day it's like, nope. And it's gone, like completely gone, never comes back in the room. You never see that item ever again. And, or like a grouping of that item ever again. And it's just like, well, what just happened there? And then there's the other child who will keep something for maybe a day or two and then be like, okay, cool. And they switch things around constantly, or, oh, now we got baskets. So now we're going to put this in the basket. Now we're going to do this, whatever, or whatever the case would be. It gives them that sense of pride, that sense of joy, that sense of, this is my space and nobody else. Now, are there rules to it? Of course there's rules. There are going to be rules set beforehand and explaining. And, one of the things actually, as I was doing the notes and stuff for this is, big number one rule: if it attracts bugs, bacteria, or bad vibes, something needs to be done right away. So that was one of the things that I'm like, I'm actually gonna make that a little title on my, because we have in our hallway where all the kids, we always pass by every day. That's where we have our chores and whatever. So I think I'm going to put that there. If it attracts bugs, bacteria, or bad vibes, something needs to be done. Because seriously, my kids are allowed, like, I know not many parents allow this, but my kids are allowed to have food in their room. They want to escape. They want to have a snack or whatever the case may be while they're doing whatever they're doing, while they're talking to their friends, whatever. And I said, that's fine. But if I see that there's food left over when you are gone, then we've got a problem. And they've got a 3 strike rule. So if I find food in their room 3 times, that's it. They lose that opportunity for we haven't I've basically said for 2 weeks. Um, but sometimes, they if they manage to, within that 2 weeks completely clean their room and they manage to like vacuum it and do this and do that, whatever, and they've shown to me that they can keep it clean, fine. I'll give you that back. But we're still in that do not leave food. Because again, you leave food, it will attract the bugs, it will attract the bacteria and, the bad vibes, because leaving the clutter attracts the bad vibes. And we're not all about the bad vibes in here. We want the good vibes. So yeah, so that's one of the big things with, allowing your kids to do certain things in their own space, because again, I'm going to reiterate, it gives them that sense of pride. It gives them that sense of belonging into the family, but also having independence. And this is where the whole teens part and why it's very important for teens to have their own space, because of the fact that they're now at a point in their lives that they are needing to be independent from the parental figures. So the parental figures that, made decorated their bedroom or whatever the case may be. They need the independence from that because they are becoming very independent individuals. Like that is just a natural form of the teen years. They are trying to get away from the identity of parental. I'm just going to use that because we don't know. It could be mom, could be dad, mom, dad, who knows? Could be grandma and grandpa, could be aunts, uncles, whoever the parental role is in their life, they are separating their identity from them. So therefore, they're going to try and separate their space from that as well. So they need that independent space. They need that, like, basically the little cave that they can go into because they're going to want that space. They're going to want to retract from the entire family, retract from life sometimes, and they're going to want their little area to be able to go to that they will not be bothered. There's a reason why my son, I allow him to lock the door in his room because he just wants his own space. He's a teen now. He's trying to fight that, who am I? What's going on? My hormones, what's going on? Like all that stuff. And when he goes into his room, he can retract. He can just go into his own space. Everything in there is his. I try and encourage him to clean it a little better. But again, for me, it's as easy as shutting the door. Now, let's say your children or your preteens are sharing a room. I would suggest teens not sharing because of this reason, because they need that independence. But if they can, make it so that there's an absolute divider in that room, like one of those big, huge units that can divide the 2 beds, so that at minimum, what they can do is escape into their side of the room. And it's like a little cave, because I think that's what it is for a lot of, like, I know my daughter absolutely loves like being in like the cave-like thing. This is why she had a loft bed with a space underneath for all her stuff and a little chair and everything. But they like that space to just be able to shut the world around them off and just go into their own little world. And whether that's in their, on their phone, in their gaming or whatever, but to have that space. And like I said, even if they have to share a room, to be able to put that like obvious divider for the 2 children, the 2 teens, the teen and the child or whatever. Because again, I know every house is different, every family is different, but just being able to give them that separate space allows them to just go internal and just be able to sort through the day's stuff, be able to go through what's happened, what's going on, or just to be able to not hear anyone and not talk to anyone or not do anything. It just gives them that independent area for them and them alone that isn't going to be bothered by, a sibling, that isn't going to be bothered by a parental figure, that they can just go in. Now, again, like I said, have those rules. If they're having food there and they're leaving it and they're not cleaning up and whatever, okay, cool. It has to be rectified immediately. If they're always going into that area, always going into that and never socializing or never coming out and, having family dinners or whatever, or like really fighting that. That's also something that we got to look at as well, because that could be something more than just being a teen. That could be more that there is some clutter up here or in here that they don't know how to express, that they don't understand. But this is why giving them that space so that they can retract to that maybe helps them with the mental and emotional stuff and maybe the spiritual stuff as well. And just be able to, you know, sit on it, understand, okay, what's going on or whatever, or just de-stress from the day, because there was a lot that happened. Kids go through school, they go through all that stuff. A lot could have happened through the day. Some have jobs and everything like that. Some have, volunteers, all that stuff. Like there's a lot that goes on in an adult's day, let alone is there a lot that goes on in a child, especially a teen who's going through the pubescent era. I'm going to call it an era because it is an entire like time frame of our lives. Like we went through it as adults. But then there's the part of, maybe while the teen and you are getting that space, or even the child, you might learn something about them. So get that space ready for them. Ask them, like, what do you want in here? What would you want in your space? What kind of things? Like, do you want to put posters up? Do you want to put pictures up? Do you want to whatever? And it's funny because then you start to learn about that child in ways that you've made it about them. Absolutely 100% made it about them, but you're learning and you're asking questions and you're like, "Hey, what do you want in here? Oh, you want a poster? Oh, you want that?" Like there was a mural, or not a mural, but it's basically like a drop cloth, but it's of I wouldn't even be able to tell you what the artist is, but it's an music artist, and my son wanted it, and I'm like, "Cool. Who is this? Why do you want this? What, like, what is about this poster that you enjoy? Why, like, who?" And he played his music, and I was like, "Okay, cool. I understand." And it was just a moment for us to be able to, for me to be able to get a little more into my son's life. And it wasn't pressured. It wasn't forced. It wasn't like, you don't talk to me, blah, blah, blah. It was just, okay, cool. Like, why do you want that? Just explain to me. Like, what? Cool, I'll get it for you. Like that had beautiful colors. It was a black background, all that stuff. Now there was a few things that I was like, okay, well, what's this symbol in this, canvas? And he's like, oh, well, this is because of this. And I got the story. So the kid knows a lot about this artist's story. I never would have known that had we not made his space his space. Now, of course, now he has two spaces because he actually made a space in the garage as well, which is another space that I said to him. I said, now you have two spaces to keep, clean and keep whatever. And again, with that whole, if it attracts bugs, bacteria, or bad vibes, it's got to be fixed immediately. But again, it gives him that place that he can hang out with his buddies, because again, now we're going to move into the adults. Adults also need their own space. This is why you see a lot of man caves or she sheds or whatever the case may be. Now, mind you, I don't want to do pronouns with all that stuff, but there's a reason why you see even adults having their own space, because we as adults need to unwind and de-stress in our own area. Now, is it an entire room? Who knows? Is it a little section of a room that is just yours? And then when you're there, you get to close the door and just be whatever, whether it's the office, whether it's a reading room, whether it's your bedroom, and you just have a chair there. And when you, have a do not disturb, let the other party that shares that bedroom with you know, like, listen, I just need, when this signs up, I just need this time to myself to unwind, to de-stress without whatever. Now, pick your timing. Don't do it while dinner has to be done, or don't do it while, let's say you have young kids and they have to be bathed, and don't do it. Like, pick your time. Like, yes, it's okay to unwind at the end of the day. It's okay to say, hey, I need a half an hour. After that half hour, I'm just gonna, then I can whatever. Like, you just had a long day at work. You just had crappy drive coming home, or whatever the case may be. But communicate that with your partner, because your partner might have also had one of those days and also needs that half hour just to unwind, de-stress, and do whatever it is. I don't care if they're a stay-at-home parent. I don't care if they're working as well. Both parties need to have that communication, because mental and emotional and physical and all that kind of stress takes a toll on us. And that's why separate spaces allows us to just go into our space because we know it's our space. We don't have to worry about, let's say when like we shared a bedroom, we're trying to do stress in our bedroom. Well, we're sharing that bedroom with somebody, but we look over to the side and they've got laundry all over the floor on their side. Is that going to help you de-stress and unwind? Hell no. If anything, that would cause me to go and have even more like, oh my God, more mental clutter, more emotional clutter, because it's like, why can't you put those in the laundry? Why can't you put that just in the basket if there's a basket there? Like, so finding a space that is your own, that the other person can respect as well and keeps their space in that area. And if you can't have that, go get a she shed or go get a man cave or go get something where it is a space like, right now where I am. It's just a little space. It's a chair in a corner in the living room area. That's a space that, yes, is mine because that has all my books, all my, spiritual stuff here and everything. And it's just, yes, it's out in the open and stuff. But when I'm here, it's fine. Like I get to unwind. I get to enjoy myself. Now, mind you, I also have my bedroom, like I said. But if I was to live with somebody, I would need a separate out of area where, nobody could really talk to me, I guess, in that sense. And that's what they're for, is a little space that that person can go. And like I said, with kids, if they have to share a room, even if it's a beanbag beside a bookcase and they have like a little curtain or like one of those little drape things, that's fun for a kid too, because that gives them that energetic separate space from everyone. It gives them the, when I'm in this area, hey, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, whatever, when I'm in this area, I'm just trying to figure out what happened today, or I'm maybe because the kids don't know that it's, well, I'm just trying to, you know, unwind and de-stress. They don't know that that's why they're doing it. They just need time to themselves. Everyone does. Everyone needs that time to themselves, and that's what the separate spaces gives them, and it allows them to mull on that day's things, I guess is what you could say. Whether it's you're a teen, whether you are an adult, whether you are a child. Separate spaces are, again, like I said, it doesn't even have to be an entire room, just a space that allows that, separation from everyone else, and that is their own, and nobody else can touch it. Nobody else gets to rearrange or declutter because they don't like the way it looks or it doesn't fit the decor. That's a big one that I find with when I was a cleaning client, or when I had cleaning clients, is I would see children's rooms so well put together and very fits the rest of the decor of the home and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, where does the kid get to be the kid? Like, where's the teen stuff? Where's the, where does this kid get to be in the room and know that it's their space or their room? Because I find those who force their children to be so clean, so neat and tidy. Now, mind you, there are some kids that are just that. But when they don't have their own personality in that room, they never get to have their own space. So therefore, they never actually feel comfortable enough to unwind, to de-stress. So they're always going to be the wound up child and the wound up teen. And then that might come out later on in life in rebelling, in not wanting to do things. Well, this is not even my space anyway, so why do I care about keeping it clean? But if you give it their personality into it and you allow them to take control. Oh, I don't want the pink walls, or I don't want the gray walls. I want a bright yellow, let's say. Oh, yeah, of course. Does yellow go with the rest of the house decor? Probably not. But could you compromise with the child? Maybe do one wall yellow and the rest are gray, so that that child still has something that is theirs in their space, but that it allows them to say, and of course, if they change a year from now, change the color again. Because that's the joy about paint on a wall or decor, pillows, and all that stuff, is they can be changed. They can be adjusted to the child's personality as they grow older. Many times the children have, changed the way that they've wanted things. Like my daughter rearranged her entire room the one day. And my son has rearranged his room many times, many, many, many times. And it allows you to see that when they do that, that is them changing in life. That is them changing and trying to probably also figure out what's going on internally. And so when you see them adjusting things in their room, because again, I know many people have heard this, but your room is a direct reflection of you as who you are as a person. But if you as a parent aren't allowing that child to have that reflection, that child is always going to be you and a reflection of you and not independent. And they're always going to depend on you to do many things in life. But if you give them their own separate space and you allow them their independence and you see and you watch from afar as they rearrange that space on their own. Because today, you know what? They're done with collecting rocks and stones and dirt or whatever else they've collected. They now dispose of it on their own, or they can put it in their backyard. That's one of those things like, okay, you don't want it in your room anymore? Let's put it in the backyard. Let's put it in the garden. So you can always have it, but not have it in your room. Because I know a lot of parents, like I know it took me a while to figure out that, the whole stones and sticks and stuff like that. But to me, they were just stones and sticks. To them, it was a memory of an adventure that we went on to this park or that park with so-and-so or whatever. This is why I say don't declutter for your children. Always make sure, always 100%, please. I beg you, do not get rid of things for your child without them in the room having a say. Because when they don't have a say as a child and they get a say as an adult, they, the chances are, will keep everything because they never got to keep anything as a child. Like I remember my mom, oh my Lord, the amount of times that my mom used to take my desk because it was apparently a mess according to her, and would take her arm and swipe everything off the desk and onto the floor and tell me to clean it up. What was the point of that? Because now, great, my desk is clean, but now everything's on the floor in your way every time you walk into the room. So teenage me left it. I would leave it because to me, whatever, fine. You want to do that? You want to make that a thing? Then by all means, that is on you. And it pissed my mom off even more. My mom and I did not have a good relationship. Let me just tell you that right now. And we still don't. We don't actually even have a relationship right now. So for me, I didn't care. She cared. She made it about her. She made it about, things that upset her and blah, blah, blah. So now you have to clean it up because it's upsetting me. That's not going to, a child won't care as much. All they'll probably care is that they're scared of you. That's why they're going to do it. They're not doing it because they want to. They're not doing it because they want to clear out what's going on inside them. They're doing it because they're afraid of you as the adult. Whereas if you allow them and you do it with them and you don't throw things off, bookshelves or desks or whatever, and you work with them, you'll learn a lot more about yourself and your child doing it that way than just forcing them to do it your way. So yeah, so that's basically, I believe that's all my notes. And yes, this time I actually had like full-fledged notes because I knew this was an important one because we all need it. Whether you're a child, whether you're a teen, or whether you're an adult, we all need our own space. We all need something to call our own. And we also need to call our own and for it to not get, impacted by the adults because it doesn't fit the decor, by the adults, let's say the teens and the kids, or the other adult in the room or the other adult in the house saying like, no, you can't have that because that looks ugly. Well, then let them have their own space and put it in there. If you don't like how it looks, let them have their own space that is theirs. I know there's a lot of partners that, one partner is, very minimalistic and the other partner is not, or, one partner likes, certain styles and the other partner does not. Well, those clash, obviously. So of course, if each partner has their own space, whether it's, one person has an office and the other person gets the bedroom or whatever the case would be, or I know there's many partners that have separate bedroom for this reason because they can't de-stress and their time to de-stress is at nighttime or, when they first wake up. If they first wake up and they're seeing the other partner's stuff everywhere, that's not going to start your day off very well. Now, and that's, again, one of those things. It's like, as the other partner who has the stuff everywhere, just be mindful and clean up and just declutter a bit. The other partner's probably not asking for it to be picture perfect. And if they are, then that's another topic for another day. But it's a matter of being able to have your own space, wake up, go to sleep, or however, in that space or around that space, or just to be able to escape to that space for a moment in the day to just be able to unwind and relax and to just be with yourself and not have to worry about, oh, well, the kids left all their toys in here, or, oh, my partner has left this or that or whatever here. Like it's your own space, it's your own thing. And again, with kids and teens, it's showing their own personality, because there's not many times in the day that they get to have their own personality. When they're in school, they have to do what the teachers say. When they're at work, they have to do what the boss says. They have to keep it up how let's say, they're the space that they're working in. They have to keep it the way that the company needs it to be. So it's nothing is of theirs. But when they're home and they have their own space, they get to have their posters or their pictures of their friends. And then that's another one that is really cool, is you get to know who their friends are too. Because then you're the one printing them off or whatever. And then you're like, oh, who's this? Oh, okay, cool. What were you doing when you guys took this picture? And you kind of get stories in that way. And it's not forced. It's not forced conversation that you're trying to have with your teen or your kid. It's a natural conversation, and they get to be the center of your attention for that moment. And that's huge for children and for teens. They don't have to worry about what mom or dad or aunt, uncle, brothers, sisters, whatever are doing. They get to be the center of attention for that moment. And that's huge for a child or a teen. And it's very comforting for a parent to be able to provide that sort of support for their child, even if it's just giving them their own space. But anyways, that is basically it. So next week, what we're going to talk about is what happens with the conflict. Like I was saying about these spaces, where there is that major conflict, that you have one person who is minimalistic, but the other person is not at all, and doesn't care that there's clothes all over and this, whatever. And then that causes that conflict. And I'm talking even kids. What happens when you have two kids in a room and one's neat and one's not? What happens when you have, half the family is this and half the family is that? It's the conflict of styles, let's call it that, of decluttering styles, of cleaning styles, of, organizing styles. What goes on when that happens? How do you, interact as a whole family unit when there are so many different styles? So we'll go talk about that next time. So the next live date is Wednesday, June 21st at 10 a.m. EDT. And as for today, I am done. There has been no questions or anything like that. So I'm going to close this off for today. Go look at again, I'm just going to actually close off with this. Go look at in your home. Does everyone have their own separate space that they can retreat to unwind and de-stress? If not, think about where those spaces could be. Take this weekend and maybe talk about it as a family and say, hey, I get it. Not everyone has their own space. Where would you like your space to be? And how would you like it to look? Now, obviously, money and all that stuff comes into factor, whatever. We can't, some things that the kids want. It's like, yeah, we can't do that right now, but can we do this? And it's still, like I said, their own space. So think about it this weekend. If not everyone has their own space, and I'm talking adults too, where can those spaces be? And can you compromise that it can be a place where they can unwind, and also schedule it in? Like, if you know that every day that this person comes home from work or whatever, they need that bit of time, whether it's the person that is home currently or stay at home or not stay at home or whatever, and you guys know, schedule that time in. Like, schedule it or forget it. Like, that's usually what it is. And even with kids, like, as soon as they come home from school, they don't want to be doing schoolwork right away. Some do, some don't. So give them that half hour and allow them to be in their space and then come out, kind of deal. So that is all for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful week and a half, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.